DA and EFF and so forth, and MK and so forth. But if that is not provided here, maybe we should then allow them, maybe they were not prepared enough, but let's allow them to allocate seats, and then we come back. Those who squish will squash on their own. Honorable members, honorable members, honorable members, I know that we adjourned for 5 minutes, but I wanted to bring something to your attention, is that the ANC is allocated 18 seats. The DA is allocated 11 seats. MK is allocated 9 seats. EFF is allocated 6 seats. IFP is allocated 3 seats. And then the rest of the other parties is 1-1. What? No, order, please. So I want us to reach a consensus. Since this committee room is too small, even if we would want to accommodate ANC 18 members, DA 11 members, and so forth, it is not going to be sufficient. So I want us to make to reach a consensus that at least, if it's not 18, let it be at least 13, so that we allow the 1-1s to also have a space instead of us sitting 3 in one seat. And maybe also DA has 9, and then so all of us, which means we'll have to sacrifice maybe 2 seats or so forth. But I'm bringing this to your attention because the committee room is too small, but I've seen that there are other members from the ANC who have left already. And maybe then after that sequence, we'll be able then to have proper allocations. But let's see with the seats that are available, how then do we occupy seats and be able to sit properly. But I just wanted to bring that to your attention. And in 3 minutes, I think we'll be starting, because at least now there is a way forward of seating arrangement. Thank you. Honourable Member.
Chair, thanks very much. I think there's also, if you look at the seats, I think some of us are trying to accommodate 3 per bench, and I think if we try to do that where there's certain parties that are oversubscribed, I think we can accommodate more people if that's the case. So, I don't think we need to delay the meeting any further than that. Thanks.
We're ready, Chair. Thank you.
Member, but I think we're ready now. The House is in order, and we can now continue. I will now allow the Secretary to read the order.
Debate on vote number 23, Defence, including vote 26, Military Veterans Appropriation Bill.
I will now invite the Minister of Defence and Military Veterans to open the debate.
House Chair, Deputy Ministers of Defence and Military Veterans, Deputy Ministers present, Chairpersons and members of the Portfolio Committee on Defence and Military Veterans and the Joint Standing Committee on Defence, Honourable Members, the Acting Secretary for the Defence, the Chief of the National Defence Force, and Acting Director General of the Military Veterans, and members of the Military Command and Secretariat Council, Chairperson, and also CEOs of defence entities and distinguished guests. Honourable Speaker, I stand before you today humbled by the honour of presenting my first ever budget vote to this House within the context of a government of national unity as the Minister of Defence and Military Veterans. I wish that we recognize those brave men and women who have paid the ultimate price in service of our country. From the going down of the sun and the rising of the sun, we will forever remember them. Yes, we'll remember them because for our tomorrows, they gave their today. Honourable Speaker, these are indeed dangerous times. They are difficult times. We live in a world where the only constant is change itself. It is a world of increasing volatility, exacerbated by its ambiguity and complexity, characterized by a state of troubled peace. And the role of the National Defence Force has never been more important than it is now, both here at home and on the continent. And the demand upon this defence force is unceasing, and its members serve loyally and faithfully across all arms of service. Some have paid the ultimate price in the defence of our country, country's sovereignty, and our responsibility as peacekeepers and peace builders in Africa. And our country must acknowledge and appreciate the patriotic role played by these members. Chair, we come here before this House today with a plan and proposal which needs to be supported by this House. As stated in the Defence Act founding documents, the primary function of SADF includes deterrence, defense of the territorial integrity and national sovereignty, and the protection of key national interests. So the Department of Defense includes the Defense Secretariat for Civil Control and Oversight, and the South African National Defence Force as the only lawful military force of the Republic in accordance with the Constitution. Honorable Speaker, the Ministry previously indicated to this House that there is a need to review certain key chapters of the Defence Review of 2015. And I am reliably informed that during discussions by my predecessor, Minister Thandi Modise, and the Command-in-Chief in January this year, President Honorable Cyril Ramaphosa, and the department is hard at work finalizing this task, and all this we have agreed that, bottom line, the military command is based on soldier first in principle. And this will indeed, Chair, include military strategy and an interim force design aligned to government funding objectives, and I will be engaging with Cabinet and the different committees on this work. Honorable Speaker, our Defence Force has provided great service to this country across multiple theatres in many different guises since the House last set to consider its funding. The department plays a very important role in many government medium-term strategy frameworks, and these are guided by safeguarding the nation through, for instance, border safeguarding, maritime security, support to subs, and other ordered internal operations. Secondly, securing regional development through the deployment of robust forces and support of the African Union peace and security architecture. Again, ensuring hard power through the maintenance of a core combat capability to protect the sovereignty of our country, protecting South Africa's intangible sovereignty through the support of the national cyber resilience and nation building. And guided by the above principles, the department is involved in different provinces, namely Mpumalanga, Limpopo, KZN, Free State, and Northwest, with ongoing operations. As I've just mentioned, this includes guarding our borders, maritime security, and also involving ad hoc operations with South African police force, for instance, around combating illegal mining, safeguarding critical infrastructure, and crime prevention, contributing meaningfully to social cohesion and safe communities in realization of the pillar of nation building. The ongoing Welisize Rural Bridge Program and our disaster management responses are tangible examples of the humanitarian support and emergency relief that we bring to the country. On disaster management, for instance, Chair, we have a standing agreement or memorandum of understanding with COHOCTA, where we also help them in areas of disaster, because it is their core function, but the department also realizes that it has to bring support. And with the approach now, next month, of the Women's Month in August, I wish to assure the House that we are committed to the eradication of gender-based violence wherever it occurs in the department, while providing necessary support to victims of gender-based violence through our medical, psychological, and legal services. Chair, as recently announced by the Deputy President, we also are involved in youth initiatives, again to make sure that we support our young people in employment, but also in discipline. Turning towards the work that we do to contribute towards a better Africa, the department is involved in Operational Mistral and Operation Tiba, which are in the DRC. We're also involved in Operation Vikela in Mozambique. There's also Operation Copper in the offshore patrols in Mozambique. And I'm pleased, Member Chair, to report that in terms of external deployments, I was told yesterday by the Minister of Finance that we will be also getting additional funding, which Chair will report through you. But on the strength of ensuring clean governance, we're also committed to making sure that we will continue to confront the challenges that face the department, from underfunding, but also to corruption and audits which are not clear from other sections. Now focusing on the budget, Honorable Chair, we have been allocated 51.8 billion for the year 2024, and it has been divided as such. We have 5.5 billion, which is ring-fenced for the obligations of the Department in Public Works, 2.6 billion. We also have been allocated 1.4 billion to AMSCO, which is entrusted with the vital task of managing the acquisition of defense prime mission equipment, the development and maintenance of critical defense technology, and the management of strategic defense. We've also been allocated 500 million for dedicated procurement of protective personnel vehicles, 441 million for the repair and maintenance of defense force equipment, but also 72 million is allocated also to the military ombudsman, which, Chair, is a statutory body necessary or very helpful in resolving grievances by soldiers and public concerns. And the military ombuds promotes good labor relations with SANDF. The department has also been allocated 300 million for day-to-day maintenance of emergency repairs, 60 million for the deployment of resources that were used before for the 29th, 24 elections and after, and 6 million to assist the Council Control Board to manage the Castle of Good Hope, which is a very great national heritage asset. From the budget of the 51.8 billion remaining, 34.2 billion goes to compensation of employees, which constitutes 66% of the budget. Again, we have to acknowledge, Chair, and we are really humbled by the fact that SANDF, despite the money that has been given to us, still needs to upgrade its prime mission equipment. And we are robustly engaging with National Treasury on a common way to meet the Defense Force medium-term capital budget, including the vital repair and maintenance of critical infrastructure. Honorable Chair, in terms of the legislation and regulations are going to be finalized during this financial year, and again, we'll be submitting them to the committee. We are also working on the commencement of the implementation of the Defense Act during this year of 2024, and I'm told that by the end of the year, we should be ready also to report to the committee. I wish to take a moment also, Chair, to recognize our community of military veterans, some of whom have paid the supreme price in the service of our country. And the main objectives of the Department of Military Veterans is to provide national policy and standards for socio-economic support to military veterans and their dependents, guided by the Military Veterans Act 18 of 2021. This department has been allocated 864 million, Chair, which includes 158 million, which is earmarked for the pensions of military veterans, 140 for the compensation of employees, 142 for administration, 446 million for socio-economic branch, and 272 million, which will include housing, education benefits, and support and the development of memorialization, honors, and heritage. The Presidential Task Team Chair and intervention by the President did provide political support to improve the functioning and efficiencies of this department and has made recommendations which we are currently working on. And as I said, Chair, we need to deal with the challenges that are constantly reported around the areas and needs of our veterans. It will be working with, for instance, we'll be working with State Information Technology Agency, SITA, to ensure that there's a robust ICT infrastructure, to ensure that military veterans are verified and thus are enabled to have access to their benefits. I can report, Chair, that this year will be providing an additional 750 houses in addition to the 1,000 houses that have been there. There will be also subsidization of health services for military veterans and increase from 18,650 to 17,691. And the compensation of benefits for the financial year will also be there so that we can deal with the backlogs, so that this year only more than 200 veterans will be attended to and be assisted immediately. Chair, the department is working to improve the administration, the payment of the military veterans pension, and is working with the Government Pension Administration Agency that over 18,000 applications that are currently under consideration have been received by the Government Pension Agency since the start of the implementation of this benefit. And progress is being made also on the other hand, Chair, to repatriate fallen liberation struggles, heroes from different areas and also from different parts outside the country. Speaker, the Military Statutory Veterans Advisory Body is already in place, and this body is even more important now that the department is in the process of finalizing the review of the Act, similarly the Statute of Military Veterans. In the period under review, Chair, the department is looking to ensuring that the umbrella body of military veterans, the South African National Military Veterans Association, holds its elective conference, and it does give me pleasure to report that the responsibility of the Department of Military Veterans is to facilitate the long-awaited renewal of the mandate of the Military Veterans Umbrella Body. The existence of strong, united, well-managed, representative, transparent, and accountable Military Veterans Association is very important and complementary to the realization of the mandate of the Department of Military Veterans. So, Honorable Chair, in terms of statutory mandate, the Defence Force Service Commission detailed recommendations on the cost of living adjustments for the members of the South African National Defence Force. The service, to improve the service conditions of the military, including matters such as unemployment insurance to reserve force members and the South African National Defence Force Group Life Insurance Scheme, and the stabilization of the regular force medical continuation fund. So, Chair, in conclusion, Honorable Speaker, in this, the 30th anniversary of both fully democratic South Africa and of the South African National Defence Force, it is important that we ensure that we have a fully functioning, modern, and capable defence force more than any other time in the last 3 decades. The threats we face, both internally and externally, are manifest. As I alluded to in my preamble, Chair, the world we live in is vastly different to the one that we inherited from our founding fathers in 1994. Our expectations of what we need from the SANDF have risen exponentially and accordingly. As this House gathers under the auspice of the Government of National Unity, Honorable Speaker, the Council of Control continues to excel on the global heritage and memorialization scene, utilizing the Castle of Good Hope as a symbol of understanding, education, healing, and building. So let's recognize that we need to act accordingly as patriots and people of this country. Chair, as I conclude, we need to keep contributing to peace and stability in our country and in the continent. Throughout the 30 years, our men and women in uniform have continuously been patriotic, and for that, we remain grateful, appreciative, and humbled. I thank you, Chair.
Thank you, the Honorable the Minister. I will now call ANC, the Honorable Lekgote. Yes, Lekgote. I'm sorry. Yes.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. My surname is Lehuete. Yeah. Let me acknowledge all the protocols as acknowledged by the Minister. I will not repeat them, but I would like to start the way I started with the committee during our briefing. That defense, it's a matter of national interest. Now, where national interest comes in, it's where territorial integrity and sovereignty comes in. Now, there is no way that we can be inept or timid as members of this committee because we can lead to a security lapse. We have learned our mistakes from the ESCOM on load shedding. I'm sure we can't have a security lapse. So it's going to be important that we take and appreciate this committee because 60,000 South Africans, according to South African Police Service, die in the hands of criminals. 60 million South Africans today in this country plus live in fear. Even in some townships around Cape Town, they sleep at 6 o'clock now because it's not safe. So we have that burden of leadership as this committee of defense to ensure that every South African is safe. Madam Speaker, today we stand at a remarkable juncture in our nation's history as we celebrate 30 years of democracy. This milestone offers a moment to reflect on our achievement, evaluate our progress, and chart a course for the future that builds on solid foundation we have laid. It is a time to reaffirm our commitment to the values of peace, security, and collaboration that have guided our journey. Over the past 30 years, our administration has been dedicated to upholding these values through a variety of initiatives and programs. Our achievement in the realm of defense stands as a testament to the effectiveness of our strategic vision and dedication of the South African National Defence Force. One of the cornerstones of our success has been our active participation in the African Union mission, the United Nations peacekeeping missions. South Africa has consistently demonstrated its commitment to global peace and security through these missions. Our soldiers and peacekeepers have worked tirelessly in conflict zones to maintain peace, protect civilians, and support post-conflict reconstruction efforts. In countries like DRC, South Africa, and the Central African Republic, South African forces have been pivotal in stabilizing regions torn apart by violence. These efforts have not only contributed to internal peace, but also fostered goodwill and strengthened our international partnerships. Supporting peace in the region remains a cornerstone of our commitment to a regional stability. As part of the commitment, the department will continue its peacekeeping mission in the DRC and Mozambique to address the deteriorating security and humanitarian situation in the eastern DRC and pending withdrawal of the United Nations missions there, an additional 2,900 South African National Defence Force members are expected to be deployed in that country for this financial year and projected at a cost of 2.4 billion rand. Furthermore, the cost of the deployment to Mozambique for this financial year is projected at 850 million rand. Allocations for peace support operations are within regional security sub-program in the force employment program, which has a budget allocation of 2.6 billion rand over the medium-term expenditure framework period. Over the medium term, the department will continue to protect the sovereignty of South Africa and its territorial integrity through internal and external operation. This entails prioritizing border safeguarding, maintaining infrastructure, and providing support to South African Police Service and other peace support operations. Due to the labor-intensive nature of its work, spending on compensation of employees remains the department's main spending area, accounting for over 64.8%, which the Minister has already mentioned, of the total expenditure. This includes an additional allocation of 7.6 billion rand over the next 3 years to cater for adjustment arising from the previous financial year public sector wage agreement and for the deployment of the South African National Defence Force members in support of South African police during the recent 2024 national and provincial elections. Despite this additional allocation, the budget for compensation of employees remain under pressure. To minimize this impact of the shortfall, the department will continue to manage commuted overtime, recruit new members, in particular unemployed youth, through the military skills development system only every alternate calendar year, reduce its number of personnel through the natural attrition, and cap annual increases for regimental and operational allowances. Cabinet approves the reduction of 5.3 billion rand over the MTF period, including reductions on transfers to the armaments corporations of 155.6 million this financial year, 162.7 million in 2025-26 projected, 170 million in 2026-27 projected. To minimize the impact of these reductions, the department plans to continue increase its use of technology such as unmanned aerial vehicles, thermal cameras, and night vision and long-range cameras in its operation. It also plans to review its programs to identify inefficiencies, redundancies, and areas where costs can be cut without compromising core defense capabilities and critical for our national security. Honorable members, in ensuring that adequate compensation for South African military veterans is not only a moral obligation, but a crucial investment in the stability and prosperity of our nation, recognizing their invaluable sacrifices and securing their well-deserved dignity and welfare. Another significant achievement has been our regional collaboration to combat terrorism and violent extremism in partnership with our neighboring countries. We have engaged a joint operation and community programs aimed at addressing root causes of extremism, enhancing regional security, initiatives like multinational joint task team against Boko Haram and cross-border operation with Mozambique to combat insurgency, and prime example of our proactive approach. These operations have seen success in reducing the influence of extremist groups and improving the safety of communities across the region. As we reflect on these successes, it is also essential that we evaluate our past strategies to ensure we continue on the right path. The South African Defence Review 2015 provided a strategic framework for our defence policies, and we must assess its effectiveness in meeting our national security objective. This review has guided our investment in modernizing our defence capabilities and moving forward. We will continue to assess and refine our strategies to meet our evolving threats and challenges as a country. Our humanitarian and disaster relief efforts have also been a testament to our commitment to global welfare. The National Defence Force response to natural disasters, both at home and abroad, has demonstrated our ability to mobilize resources and provide timely assistance in times of crisis. From providing aid in the aftermath of the recent floods in KwaZulu-Natal and supporting international relief efforts during the natural disasters in neighboring countries, our force has shown that South Africa stands ready to help in times of need. Looking ahead to the 7th administration, our priorities will build upon this achievement and address new challenges. We will continue to strengthen our role in international peacekeeping missions, deepen our regional collaboration, enhance our defense strategies to address emerging threats. We'll also focus on expanding humanitarian efforts to support vulnerable communities and contribute to global stability. To achieve these goals, we seek your support for the proposed budget, honorable members, which will enable us to maintain the commitments and invest in the future of our defense capabilities. The budget will support modernization of our force, enhance our peacekeeping operations, and expand our humanitarian outreach. In conclusion, as we celebrate 3 decades of democracy, let us also look forward with determination and hope.
Honorable
Let us
Mbote,
refer.
unfortunately, your time has exhausted.
Oh, I saw 24 seconds.
That is in excess of the time.
Oh,
Yeah. You see,
all right.
there's a minus thing it says, which means you gave you a bit of seconds.
There's no problem. Military is a science, and for every science, we must invest on research and development. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I will now call DA, Honorable Hattie.
Thank you, Honourable House Chair. I wish to express my appreciation to our Minister, Deputy Ministers, Chairperson and colleagues in this committee and staff for their excellent work under extreme time pressure to bring us where we are today. This is the dawn of the 7th Parliament, but the Department of Defence briefing on the budget and annual performance plan certainly was a rude awakening for those coming here with high expectations. The budget has once again decreased from 52.5 billion to 51.8 billion, continuing a downward trend by decreasing 1.3% year on year and 5.69% in real terms considering CPI inflation. Over time, the department budget has declined to such an extent that the estimated shortfall has now reached 50 billion per annum. The diminishing budget does not enable the Defence Force to comply with its constitutional mandate to be a disciplined military force that defends and protects the Republic, its territorial integrity and its people. In July 2023, the department informed the National Treasury that the budget cannot fund the 22 sub-unit national security requirement, that there is insufficient funding for compensation of employees, that critical posts are being left vacant, that the Department of Defence is unable to execute its core mandate amidst increasing operational requirements, that there is limited funding for the Strategic Capital Acquisition Master Plan, that the deterioration of SANDF facilities, infrastructure and capabilities continues, that the Department of Defence is unable to modernise and secure legacy Department of Defence ICT systems, and that the department is unable to maintain critical stock levels, including fuel, ammunition, medical supplies, as well as pharmaceuticals. The lack of funding has pressurized the department and its suppliers. The National Treasury reported in June that the Department of Defence was responsible for 78% of all government departments' late payments of suppliers over 30 days, amounting to 1.407 billion. These late payments have severe consequences for suppliers, some struggling to survive, and others having their credit ratings downgraded. This indicates that the department's cash flow situation, where late payments are being used as a bridging finance for the department. Small businesses have to fund the department. The 1998 Defence Review set the defence personnel budget at 40% of the total budget, with 30% for operating costs and 30% for capital costs, 40-30-30 ratio. However, by 2011, personnel spending climbed to 55% and has now escalated to 66%, which is unsustainable. The lack of adequate funding resulted in the lack of proper maintenance, regular upgrading and the replacement of obsolete equipment, and this has seriously impacted on the SANDF's ability to fulfill its mandate. Despite the department's reduced budget, the allocation to the ministry of the department has increased by 229% over the last 2 years, from 59 million in 22-23 to 135 million in this financial year. Arms Corps has identified a bloated South African military and resistance to strategic modernization as one of its key risk factors. The department's response to address these issues by a re-evaluation of the Defence Review 2015 will prove to be totally inadequate and a critical waste of money and time. To re-evaluate the Defence Review 2015, the basis of what resulted in what the SANDF is today is unthinkable. You can't use the framework that collapsed the system to repair the system. We have lost our air and maritime capabilities, and the DRC deployment, where our forces are now being confronted with new technology, is evident that the Defence Review 2015, conceived and born in the heyday of state capture, is not only outdated, but totally inadequate. The world has moved on, and conventional warfare will never be the same. HIMARS, high-tech electronic warfare, drone warfare inter alia has reshaped the battlefield. There are now also indicators that our soldiers in the DRC are exposed to precision-guided mortars. What is required now is a new and fresh defence review to guide the SANDF to be a lean, potent and agile SANDF that South Africa needs. The Department of Defence faces a mandate to deploy 2,900 SANDF members into the DRC at the approximate cost of 2.4 billion, and the Mozambique deployment at the projected cost of 850 million during this financial year. Only 2.6 billion has been allocated over the MTF period for peace support operations. However, last week Treasury's allocation of 2.1 billion for Operation Tiba and 750 million for Operation Vikela in Mozambique, being collectively 400 million less than the projected cost, will certainly ease the financial pressure on the SANDF. However, the escalation of the DRC conflict will certainly demand more funding. Now, let me address the elephant in the room. The SANDF deployment in the DRC is certainly not a SADC peacekeeping mission. Neighboring countries like Angola and Zambia, part of the SADC, do not participate in the SADC mission, although they share long borders with the DRC. The conflict between the DRC and various rebel groups, including M23, has escalated into an undeclared war involving the FADRC, that's Army of the DRC, the Wazalendo coalition of rebel groups, the FDLR, the Burundi National Defense Force and SADC forces on the one side, where we have rebel groups joining South Africa and in other groups against the M23 rebel groups coalition and the Rwanda Defense Force. This is not peacekeeping. Recently, the conflict has seen the deployment of precision-guided mortars and GPS jamming, limiting flights between Goma, Beni, and Butembo, further restricting support for our members in the DRC. The cold reality of the African DRC deployment is that our soldiers lack the required levels of logistical, tactical, and medical support, lack adequate training for high-tech warfare, and lack discipline. There is inadequate funding, no threat to South Africa from the regional conflict in the eastern DRC. Therefore, Honourable House Chair and Minister, our soldiers should come back home immediately. And perhaps, Honourable Minister, the Honourable Minister should tell the President in words that he understands, Honourable President, whether you like it or not, our soldiers must come home. Thank you.
Harting, thank you. And the Honourable Member from MK, Honourable Chingila. Honourable members, it is Honourable Chingila's maiden speech. So let us be nice, please.
Honourable Chair and esteemed colleagues, today I stand before you as a representative of Umkhonto weSizwe Party, the official opposition in the National Assembly. I wish to extend my heartfelt condolences to the families of the members of South African National Defence Force who died in an unfunded and unplanned stabilization mission in the DRC, and the question remains that in whose interest were these members deployed for? And further extend our heartfelt condolences to the families and friends of 4 members who died of carbon monoxide poisoning in Orkney in the Northwest Province. We wish to welcome the appointment of Honorable Wolomisa as a Deputy Minister. He is a shoe fit for a paralyzed department such as the Defense Ministry. Umkhonto weSizwe Party will aid and support his work, but also acknowledge the presence of the minister, of the former minister of Basic Education Emeritus, Mam Angie Motshekga. Having declared the overgrowth, we must remind members that this budget vote implicates the work of at least 4 ministries: the Home Affairs portfolio, which is responsible for border management and immigration; the Police Ministry, which is tasked with crime intelligence function; the Intelligence portfolio in the Presidency, which is responsible for coordinating government work and promote national sovereignty and fight threats to national stability. The Ministry of Defense and the military veterans ultimately bears the final responsibility to steer the ship, as provisioned in Section 198 principles that govern the national security in the Republic. That the national security must reflect the resolve of South Africans as individuals and as a nation to live as equals, to live in peace and harmony, to be free from fear and want, and to seek a better life. It is disturbing to observe the disintegration of defense budget by the Departments of Intelligence, Police, Home Affairs, instead of developing one budget for national security. Honorable Chairperson, to recap, the budget and the work of this department is compromised by its shared mandate with the aforesaid ministries. Thus, it has progressively failed to fight security breaches such as the illegal invasion of South African borders by illegal immigrants, zamazamas, and criminals. The SANDF border capacity is in shambles, and many foreign nationals enter our ports of entry with little difficulty. This has led to social dislocation in our country. We are appealing for an extended budget for maintenance and replacements of DOD's aging fleet, to modernize its defense, maritime, and air force fleets and equipment, and also to fund research and development for advanced military health services. So DOD is reduced to a drill squad with no capacity to ensure human security, to facilitate peace, development, human rights, water affairs, to prevent contamination, the weather that can be manipulated to advance war, access to healthcare, as well as prevention and protection against infectious diseases. COVID-19 was a national threat which explicitly exposed our weakness that we don't have a national security strategy. We regrettably note the challenge and the unpatriotic and counter-revolutionary defense budget reduction from a 2% of the GDP. Therefore, consistent with the declining work of this ministry, it also increasing in our national programs. Misalignment between realistic requirements and budget estimates has led to inefficiencies. There is an urgent need for more realistic budget planning to ensure effective utilization of allocated funds. Honorable members, there is no doubt that peace and national security is central to development. It is in this regard that we cannot underestimate the constitutional role of the South African National Defence Force in our democracy. This does mean, however, that we must pay lip service to the department's gradual decline, as demonstrated by the demise of Denel. It is also very concerning that the current soldier life concept is outdated. We need a rejuvenated strategy that allows for a younger, more deployable force, coupled with an exit mechanism for aging personnel. That the non-availability of funds for aircraft and naval vessel maintenance highlights a critical area of concern. Increasing funding to modernize DOD fleet, artillery vessels, and equipment are necessary to maintain our combat readiness. The reduced targets for flying and sea hours reflect an operational limitations due to inadequate maintenance and funding, impacting the readiness and the effectiveness of our forces. Despite the allocations for border safeguarding technology, funds have been misallocated and underutilized, compromising border security. The delayed evaluation of the 2015 Defense Review has stalled critical reforms needed for modernization of our defense strategy. Honorable Chair, the plight of former armed liberation freedom fighters demonstrates the extent to which the department has reached the rock bottom. The Department of Military Veterans has faced numerous issues, including several vacant positions. Notable vacancies include the Deputy Director General of Corporate Service, Deputy Director General of Social Economic Support Service, Chief Director of Heritage, Burial and Memorialization, Director of Legal, Director of Human Resource, and the Director General. Additionally, the Director General was suspended due to fraud allegation and subsequently resigned. The current acting DG was also suspended by the then DG for fraudulent activities. Under the previous DG, staff suspensions were common, trend continued by the current DG. Current several officials are suspended. Unfortunately, the department now operates under acting DG once more. For several years, the DMV has returned unspent funds to the Treasury, which is disheartening given the department's mandate to serve the veterans community. There remain unpaid school fees, non-erected tombstones, unpaid funeral claims, slow progress in skills development, and military veterans home without electricity. Comrade Chairperson, since its establishment, the department was expected to implement benefits in accordance with the Military Veterans Act of 2011. However, 15 years later, only a few benefits have been rolled out. According to the Military Veterans Act, benefits should include compensation for disabling injuries, severe psychological trauma, or terminal disease from military activities, dedicated counseling and treatment for serious mental illnesses and PTSD, honoring and memorialization of fallen military veterans, education, training, and skills development, employment placement, facilitation, business opportunity facilitation or advice, and public transport subsidization or provision. Now, in terms of pension, healthcare, and housing and burial support, many members' associations have failed to put their members on the database, and individual veterans also have struggled to enter the department's database so that they can access benefits. Some were rejected by verification panel members in the absence of association representatives who can confirm or deny their legitimacy. Pension is a crucial benefit that could alleviate the poor living conditions of many veterans. Although the funds may be sufficient for those with large families, a presidential task team was established to oversee this process, instilling hope among veterans for a better life. 2 years later, they are still awaiting relief with applications either declined, not updated, or pending due to unclear document requirements. In November 2023, only a few members allegedly reported receiving pensions. The department oversees skills development and employment replacement initiatives. However, the efficacy and the relevance of these projects of military veterans warrant scrutiny. Recent efforts, including training veterans on using departmental applications and providing tables, yet applications themselves were not fully implemented. This raises concerns about the practicality of such projects. Moreover, there appears to be a stronger focus on skills development rather than actual job creation and replacement. Honorable members, DNV is engulfed by corruption and scandals with investigations by the Directorate for Priority Crime Investigation, known as the Hawks, on 4 cases of fraud and corruption amounting to nearly 170 million. These cases highlight severe lapses in procurement processes and financial management, misallocation of funds for procurement of machines to fix potholes, with a loss of 57 million rands due to improper supply chain processes. In 2021, 90 rammers worth 40 million were purchased, most of which disappeared mysteriously from a store in Rodiport, with an additional loss of 12.5 million, which was paid into a personal account of a company CEO involved in the project.
Thank you.
In conclusion, Umkhonto Wesizwe Party does not support this vote. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We'll call EFF, Honorable Nihays. And honorable members, it's Honorable Nihays' maiden speech, so that can we be nice?
Honorable Chair, having served in the National Assembly during the first administration, I'm back to serve. I suppose this can be called my second maiden speech. It is dedicated to the liberation soldiers who fought for our liberation, especially 2, whom I have known personally and were killed because of having been betrayed by their closest comrades. I'm talking about Commander Chris Hani and Comrade Vincent Chabalala. Commander Chris Hani was assassinated by Janusz Walusz, but his real killers are still free. And some of them are now members of this so-called government of National Unity Executive. In a similar act of betrayal, Vincent Chabalala died in an ambush in Alexandra Township, betrayed by his closest friend. Today, that very same friend holds very high executive office. The evil deeds of these impimpis will come to light. In my autobiography that will be published in November, I will name the senior leader who betrayed Vincent Chabalala. But I have actually already revealed enough for that vile traitor to be identified. Chair, these are the sellouts that now form the so-called GNU and who continue to kill the revolutionary legacy of Chris Hani and Vincent Chabalala. Nowhere is that betrayal starker than in the farcical budget votes of the Ministry of Defence and military veterans that our portfolio committee was expected to rubber stamp. The budgets were presented to us in a rushed 3-hour meeting. We were expected to approve these complex budgets on the basis of 20 minutes presentations. It was indeed a total travesty. This was not a budgetary oversight process. It is a farcical sausage machine. The rush timeframes are in direct contravention of our constitutional oversight mandate. Overall, the parliamentary budgetary process is a mockery. As members of the National Assembly, we took an oath of allegiance to carry out our responsibilities. I and my fellow members of the EFF cannot be expected to contravene that oath. The voters who voted for the EFF did not vote for us to be turned into glorified rubber stamps. Therefore, we are left with no option but to oppose these budget votes. I'm not even sure if it is worth going into any of the detail of the budgets. However, Chair, in order to highlight how serious the situation is, let me do so. The budgetary allocation of the Department of Defense for 2024-2025 is close to 52 billion. This boils down to a 50 billion rand shortfall. The consequences are disastrous. The DoD cannot meet its constitutional mandate to defend and protect our country. While our national safety is compromised, the President is still deploying SANDF troops in Mozambique and the DRC. This while our troops are not resourced and their safety cannot be guaranteed. They are callously deployed to fail and die. Recently, 2 SANDF soldiers were killed and 20 seriously injured in the DRC. We must immediately withdraw our troops. Instead, the President wants to deploy a further 2,900 SANDF troops in the DRC. The butcher of Marikana now continues to send our soldiers to be butchered. The EFF will not approve such callousness. The ministry's lack of focus on core priorities is staggering. Instead of our military should be given a clear mandate to stop the movement of guns across our borders. As for the Department of Military Veterans, it is in administrative shambles. It cannot provide any of the 11 benefits that the military veterans are entitled to in terms of the Military Veterans Act. Chair, I make a commitment to visit defense villages such as Tabatswane, Bloemfontein Northside, and others where military infrastructure is dilapidated, to show South Africa that our soldiers are reduced to guards and cleaners. Chair, it is critically important that if the Minister, Angie Motshekga, is prepared to work for a turnaround, that she will find in the EFF a willing partner. However, if not, she will encounter in us an impeccable opponent. I conclude, as we said in the camp so many times, Aluta continua. Thank you, Chair.
No, don't leave the podium. Honorable Nihais, please come back to the podium. Sir. Please come to the podium again.
Sorry?
Yes. I told you 3 to 4 times that your time is up. Not because I did not give you even extra time, I did that as well. But you did not bother to listen to me. Please don't do that again. Thank you.
Chair, I apologize. While I'm speaking, I must just explain, I do have a hearing problem. I have hearing aids, and I couldn't hear.
Honorable IFP, Honorable Nkositebe Khulu.
Honorable Tribi Kulu, IFP. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. It is no secret that the national stability of the country, especially in times of crisis, is heavily reliant on a strong, organized, and capable defense force. Defense plays a peacekeeping role on the continent and safeguards our porous borders from the ever-increasing threat of cross-border insurgency by criminal trafficking syndicates. The first line of defense for any country should be its borders, and unfortunately, this has been a persistent challenge our country has faced over the years. We have seen the effects of the ever-increasing influx of illegal miners in local mining communities and the impact of the influx of counterfeit goods on our economy. The department's decreasing budget does not inspire confidence that these issues will be addressed. With the necessary agency it requires. The department has been consistent in honoring agreements with sending our soldiers to protect the peace in other countries while neglecting the importance of the change those soldiers can affect on their home soil. As we stated during the International Relations and Cooperation Budget vote last week, as the IFP, we are proudly Africans, but first and foremost, we are unwaveringly proudly South Africans. Shut up. We need this ministry to prioritize the safety and stability within our borders first before looking to do so for other countries. Chairperson, kube yisho ukuthi phezu kokuzinikela kahulumeni wezwe lethu amasosha sekuthanda ukuba isehle esivamayo noma esandayo sokubulawa kwamasosha ezwe lethu. Kuzofanele umnyango uyibhekisise bese uhlinzekela amadodakazi namadodana ethu ezwe ngezidingo ezifanele zokuzivikela. We have also been truly disappointed to note that the department has not established a database of military veterans. This will give endless claims for culprits claiming to be former military veterans to access benefits, which could cause a negative ripple effect for those who are actually military veterans to not gain access to the benefits they rightfully deserve. This administration neglect is not just an oversight, but the deliberate failure to honor military veterans. It mocks their sacrifice and raises serious questions about the department's commitment to the welfare of our veterans. Chairperson, umuntu akakusho lokhu. Lanxa isabelo mali sephuliwe, kodwa ngeke be ukwephusa emqondweni yethu ukuthi sithi asikwazi ukusesekela ngoba siyadinga izwe lethu lifikele. Siyadinga ukuthi umnyango uwenze isiqiniseko sokuthi kuthengwa ikhala ezifaneleyo ukuba amadodana namadodakazi ethu ayisebenzise ukuzivikela. Kanjalo ke nokwelekelela njengoba umgomo nokuvumelana usho njalo ekuthintakeleni kwamazwe eSADC. Kungakho ke ngima uqiniseka ukuthi sifanele ukuyamukela ibudget noma kunjalo. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are the honorable members from the PA in the House? PA, are you in the House? No. Next, we'll have Freedom Front Plus, Honorable Groenewald. Thank you.
Achtbare Huisvoorzitter, Honorable Minister, Deputy Minister, Honorable Members. I'm speaking here in my capacity of leader of the Freedom Front Plus. And I want to start to say that the killing of Major Pieterse is a wake-up call. And I say a wake-up call. Why do I say that? I say that because of the fact that he was not killed by the enemy in a confrontation. He was killed by his own soldiers. And that is clearly in the report of the United Nations Regional Force, who deals with this matter, in the docket saying probably murder. Agbare voorsitter, vir die laaste 20 jaar word daar in hierdie debat gepraat oor die tekorte in terme van finansiële ondersteuning vir die Suid-Afrikaanse nasionale weermag. Ek en die agbare adjunk minister het in 2009 was ons van die eerste lede wat op die Suid-Afrikaanse nasionale weermag se tussentydse dienstekommissie gedien het. We served in that service commission. We've visited bases. We've spoke to the soldiers, and we had many reports on recommendations. And Honourable Minister, my advice will be, go and look at those recommendations. But don't only look at it, implement them. And you have the good position to have the Honourable Olomisa as your deputy. He can assist you with that. Because we talk. This is a talk shop when it comes to South African National Defence Force. What we need is action. And there is an article in yesterday's Sunday Times by Badi Mtombodi about our peacekeeping operations. In essence, he asked the question, why must South African troops protect a corrupt leader against the wrath of its own citizens? Go read that article. And let us say to each other that if we want to strengthen the South African National Defence Force, if we want to ensure that they can do their job properly, if we want to say that we care for our soldiers, then, Honourable Minister, we must ensure that the money is there. It is totally unacceptable to send soldiers on peacekeeping missions, but they don't have the necessary military resources, and support to do their job. We are actually becoming complicit to the killing of our soldiers. And this is not the first time. We can go back to 2013 in the Central African Republic, when 13 of our soldiers were killed in a confrontation by protecting certain leaders in Africa. Be assured that as also a member of cabinet and part of the cluster, the security cluster, you can count on my support that we can work together to ensure that we have enough funds to make our South African National Defence Force a strong and professional force. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Member. Is the people from ActionSA here? Okay, thank you very much. Honourable L. Ngobeni, is that correct? Welcome.
Honourable Chairperson, Honourable Ministers, Reperin. Minister, let me cut straight to the chase. You have inherited a department that has been so severely mismanaged and underfunded for decades that as a consequence of this negligence, the safety and security of our country is at perilous risk. The 2024-2025 budget as proposed, a meager 0.7% of GDP, marks the continuation of declining defense spending without question, has hollowed out the defense capability to the point where our capacity to respond to the threats to our peace and sovereignty is severely compromised. What is apparent is that with this proposed budget, this government is frankly committed to maintaining this shameful and dangerous status quo, which if left unchecked, will have and already does have serious consequences. Honourable House Chairperson, global and regional threats to peace and security continue to escalate, demanding that we not only strengthen our deterrence to mitigate these threats, but also possess the ability to respond to them. Minister, with the current defunct and desperate state of the SANDF, we fear that this fundamental responsibility, which this budget must give effect to, is simply misaligned. This misalignment is apparent in our deployment of the SANDF to the mission in the DRC. Over 3,000 kilometers from home, our men and women have been sent to fight a fierce militant insurgency while being negligibly ill-equipped, overstretched, underfunded, and without sufficient combat and intelligence support. Sadly, the resulting consequence is that casualties are inevitable, as evidenced by the numerous deaths and severe injuries that have characterized our deployment to this conflict. And again, with the deployment in northern Mozambique, which has now concluded to combat a terrorist insurgency under the SADC mission, where these same conditions endangered the lives of our servicemen. So, where do we draw the line? What greater threat will it take, or how many lives of patriotic service members must be lost before we recognize the urgent need to review and overhaul the state of our national defense? Or will it wait until it's too late for our nation's security is irreparably compromised? Minister, we challenge you, if you are serious about reversing the destruction that previous administrations have led our defense force into. One, we advise that the President stop deploying SANDF on ill-planned and uncosted missions, rather assist the Border Management Authority to deal with our porous borders. The issue of illegal immigration and unchecked crossing in and out of South Africa cannot be allowed to continue. Two, either urgently ensure sufficient capacitation of the mission in the DRC or bring our people back home immediately. Eliminate the bloated and costly top management structure and invest more into equipping our front line. Commission a defense review that is instead led by independent experts. And lastly, Minister, do not accept bribes. House Chairperson, for reasons stated above, ActionSA rejects this budget. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Member. I will now be calling the Honourable Deputy Minister of Defence and Military Veterans, Honourable Holomisa. Welcome.
Our chairperson, Honorable Minister of Defense and Military Veterans, Honorable Minister Groenewald and Deputy Ministers, my fellow Deputy Minister, Mr. Mukungo, honorable members and SANDF leadership. With the government of national unity in place, the voters have legitimate expectation that it will work for betterment of all. We look forward to President Ramaphosa outlining the resolutions taken at the Cabinet Lekgotla. One thing is certain, it will not be a business as usual. The economic growth of the country is in jeopardy and can only be established once the safety and security of the country is no longer compromised. In a short space of time, we have signaled to our Commander-in-Chief and the Minister of Finance that urgent attention needs to be paid to the requirements of the SANDF. This is essential to address the challenges we face and to ensure that we are in a state of readiness, especially given that current threat of the climate crisis that South Africa is facing. Our predecessors, the Joint Standing Committee on Defense and the Defense Force Service Commission, have over a period of time raised concerns indicating that we are falling short on various scores. Regarding the military veterans, I want to highlight the issue of pensions for SATB VC civil servants and military veterans, which President Ramaphosa instructed the Minister of Finance and the Deputy President to address in the State of the Nation address in 2023. On the question of military veterans and their benefits, we look forward to an in-depth briefing on the progress made by the Presidential Task Team on military veterans and also speedily attend to their calls for housing, medical, and pension benefits. On the need to reshape SANDF, I wish to say the newly sworn and appointed ministerial team in the Department of Defense and military veterans may have to face the daunting tasks and a responsibility to reshape the defense force. However, any new ideas from us would have to be translated into vigorous analytical processes, popularly known in the military circles as an appreciation process, to generate executable plans within the financial constraint situation in this country. Does South Africa require defense review of sort? Undoubtedly so. The answer is a big no. Since 2015, defense review is still relevant, and effort was never made to implement it because of the country's financial constraints. However, new plans based on appreciation of the current situation or realities can be drawn from it without wasting precious time. In the face of the vulnerability of South African troops in the volatile operational theaters, recovery plan of action would require hard and tough decisions for the short term and which can help provide a breathing space towards respective medium to long-term deliberate interventions by the GNU. However, when our troops are deployed on peacekeeping missions, they must be properly equipped and given clear orders. The National Security Council should from time to time brief the executive, parliament, and the public on the peacekeeping missions, and they should be subject to review with a view of keeping our active troops safe. In shaping the future, the SANDF will need to look into and not limited to the following. Review the officer training curriculum.
Honourable Member, your time has expired.
Okay.
Thank you.
10 minutes cut.
Thank you very much. I will now call Honourable Swart from ACDP. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Order. Thank you. Order. Thank you very much. Honourable Member, you may proceed.
Thank you, House Chair. House Chair, the ACDP would like to extend its deepest condolences to the families and friends of the brave SANDF soldiers who have died in action recently as part of the SADC peacekeeping mission to the DRC. They have paid the ultimate sacrifice. The question, however, that we need to ask ourselves is whether these deaths were avoidable. And it is a resounding yes when you look at the 50 billion rand shortfall. Our deployed soldiers deserve the highest levels of support to carry out their duties and return safely. And these attacks have highlighted the deadly consequences of inadequate resources and support, with military experts making it abundantly clear that there is a dire need for improved air support, medical facilities, logistical capabilities, and combat support, including crucial radar defense systems. Members, it is time for decisive action to ensure that our troops are equipped with the tools they need to succeed and survive in their mission or bring them home. The famous lines from Lord Alfred Tennyson's poem on the suicidal charge of the Light Brigade comes to mind. Forward the Light Brigade, was there a man dismayed? Not though the soldier knew, someone had blundered. There is not to reply, there is not to reason why. There is but to do or die. Into the valley of death rode the 600. Chairperson, National Treasury has indeed blundered in cutting the budget and expecting the Defence Force to fulfill the same mandate. We as MPs have blundered. We are complicit, for we appropriate the budget. The soldiers who are deployed are not able to ask the questions. They are not able to make decisions. Theirs is not to reason why. Theirs just to do or die. And it serves no purpose to wring our hands as we continually do and say an additional budget must be allocated. And yes, we heard that there were additional budgets had been allocated, but it is insufficient. Let us bear in mind that we have the powers in terms of the Monetary Bills and Related Matters Act to reassign funds within the existing fiscal framework. If the SANDF is expected to assist the SAPS domestically in maintaining law and order, then the funds should be reassigned from the SAPS budget to the SANDF budget. In the 7th administration, Honourable Minister, we must ensure that our troops have the necessary equipment or admit that we are not up to the task and bring them home. Let us ensure that they are properly resourced. I thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Member. I will now be calling the UDM, Honourable Nontenya. Maiden speech. Thank you very much. Sorry, ma'am. Can I just put your mic on, please? Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Honourable Chair, the UTM welcomes the report on vote 23 and 26 for the 2024 and 2025 financial year. On vote 26, programs 1 up to 4 reflect budget decreases, while program 5 to 8 reflect slight increases. This might be due to the underspending in the previous financial year, which is very disappointing considering that there are soldiers who are forced to buy their own uniform, regardless of the huge budget allocated to the department. Also, we condemn the relatively high spending on administration as compared to operational programs. The UTM is concerned with a decrease from 3.6 billion in 2023-2024 to 2.6 billion in 2024-2025 on the special defense account. Such a limited allocation to this fund is a reflection of the lack of investment in SANDF equipment and technology in recent years. We suggest that the department allocate more into the fund to ensure investment in the modernization of the armed forces in order to keep pace with the evolving security challenges. The UTM urged the department to prioritize the finalization of the pension benefit regulations as a matter of urgency. It is disappointed that many military veterans are living below the current South African living wage to near destitution. Sadly, many veterans have passed away before receiving their benefits and only receiving a burial support. Moreover, the UTM is more concerned with the current insufficient number of 15 sub-units deployed for border safeguarding, leading to South Africa's deteriorating border security. We acknowledge that National Treasury has allocated additional funds for border safeguarding technology to serve as a force multiplier to soldiers deployed on the borders. However, it is concerning that...
Thank you, Honourable Member. Your time has expired.
Thank you. The UTM support the budget.
Thank you, ma'am. Next, rise, Honourable Zibi. Welcome.
Honourable Chair, Committee Chairperson, Minister and Deputy Minister, Honourable Members, I rise to reject this budget on behalf of the men and women in uniform on account of being wholly inadequate for the mandate the armed forces are expected to fulfill. Although I will shortly refer to some data just now, the reality is that you do not need to be a military expert to see that the SANDF's facilities and vehicles have fallen into disrepair. The problem with underfunding the armed forces is that it is always a deadly decision. People will die from all of this, and they already do. Our armed forces have a significant mandate that involves border protection, regional support for the SAPS, peacekeeping, and so on. Just in the period between 2012 and now, we have cut the defense budget by over 50%. There is no universe where you take the knife to the lifeblood of the defense forces and you retain its competence and strength. At over 40 years, the average age of infantry-level personnel is too high. They are too old. These are men and women who are expected to fight the actual battles on the ground. These soldiers should not, on average, be older than 25. We cannot have corporals who are 46 years old and sergeants who are 48. We are putting ourselves at a distinct disadvantage if we continue down this path. Perhaps it is the stain of the arms deal. Perhaps it is our history that makes us so reluctant to want a well-equipped professional army we can be proud of. But we must decide whether we want an army or not. We cannot be half committed to this, pretending that we have an army that can defend the country when we do not. The people that work in the armed forces are workers with rights. They are entitled to the best safety mechanisms and conditions we can afford. When we give them a stretched mandate without resources, we are deliberately putting their lives in danger, and that is unconscionable. South Africa has many needs, including people who cannot put food on the table. But we must make some decisions, And one of these is to decide whether we want an army. If we do, let us fund it properly, or we reduce its mandate. Or maybe we just shut it down. But I know this, we will one day regret the decision to defund the armed forces to the extent that we have. We will need an army one day and realize we have none left. And there will be no quick fixes. And no, I disagree that it is the Treasury that is solely responsible for all of this. The Commander-in-Chief of the South African Armed Forces is the President. When the Minister of Finance rises in Parliament to table the budget, he or she does so on behalf of Cabinet, on behalf of the Commander-in-Chief. Let us get over the belief that we can defund the army, put people's lives at risk, and still have an army that can do the work that we need to do. We have to support our armed forces. And as a result, we have no choice but to reject this budget.
Thank you, Honourable Member. I want to find out if there is anybody from Al-Jamal. Al-Jamal? No one? All right. Is there anybody from NCC? NCC? No one in the house? UAT? Anybody from UAT? Right. No. So we'll move on to DA, Honourable Shalembe.
Chairperson, let me at the onset acknowledge and recognize the military veterans who rendered their services to any of the military organizations, statutory forces and non-statutory forces which were involved on all sides of the South Africa's liberation war from 1960 to 1994, who became a member of the new South African National Defence Force after 1994 and completed his or her military training and no longer performs military services and has not been dishonorably discharged from that military organization. The Military Veterans Act was enacted in 2011 with the aim of providing the national policy and standard on socio-economic support to the military veterans and their dependents, including benefits and entitlements to help realize a dignified, united, empowered, and self-sufficient community of military veterans. Chairperson, the Department of the Military Veterans is mandated to ensure that the military veterans enjoy this benefit, but disappointingly, after 13 years of having this act in place, military veterans are still not treated with dignity they deserve due to the failure by the DMV to implement the act. These men and women are entitled to be provided with comprehensive support services such as pension, housing, subsidized public transport, burial support, education, facilitation of employment placement, and facilitation of business opportunities. Chairperson, it is not a favor to these women and men to enjoy this benefit. They left their families alone and dedicated their time to defend and protect their republic, its territorial integrity, and its people in accordance with the constitution of the country. It is totally unacceptable that to date the DMV is yet to implement the act. In the sixth administration, the Portfolio Committee on Defense and Military Veterans worked tirelessly and put pressure on the DMV to finalize military veterans pension regulation policy, which was delayed from 2011 and only approved and published by the Minister of Defense and Military Veterans in the Government Gazette for implementation on the 31st of July 2023. Now, Chairperson, imagine how long military veterans waited without food on the table, whilst people employed to do the work are not doing it, but enjoying their salaries every month. It cannot be denied that a number of military veterans died of hunger as they waited longer for the finalization of the military veterans pension regulation policy. Last week, I received 4 complaints from military veterans that the call center did not answer their calls, and 3 complaints that the DMV has not replied or acknowledged receipt of their applications, which were submitted longer than 8 months. Chairperson, it cannot be accepted that more than 12 years, DMV has failed to finalize the database for military veterans. It cannot be accepted that from 2011 to date, the DMV is still failing to finalize the subsidized public transport strategy. It cannot be accepted that the DMV is still failing to pay the school fees on time. It cannot be accepted that the DMV is failing to facilitate employment placement and facilitation of business opportunities for military veterans. It cannot be accepted that Years and years, the DMV is failing to fill the critical position, and it cannot be accepted that for years and years, calls from military veterans at the call center are being ignored. It cannot be accepted that the DMV still fails to respond to applications of military veterans on time as required by law. As the Democratic Alliance, we are going to make sure that under the government of national unity, we work tirelessly to ensure that the rights of military veterans are acknowledged and protected. In closing, we are expecting the Minister of Defense and military veterans to fill the position of the Director General in the DMV without
Honourable
delay
Member.
in order
Your
to ensure
time has
that the
expired.
department becomes
Thank you.
functional and deliver all benefits to the
Thank you,
military
Member.
veterans as required by law. Thank you.
We will now call the ANC. Honourable Sokanyile, maiden speech.
Honourable House Chair, Honourable Minister, Honourable Deputy Ministers that are here, and also Honourable Minister Honorvat, the Honourable Chairperson of the Portfolio Committee, and the Honourable Members. Today we gather to celebrate and reflect on the 30 years of democracy in South Africa, a milestone that brings with it the opportunity to honor those who have served our nation with dedication and bravery. Our military veterans have played a crucial role in securing the freedoms we enjoy today, and it is our duty to ensure that they are supported and recognized for their sacrifices. Over the past 5 years, the Sixth Administration has made significant strides in enhancing the lives of our military veterans. One of their most notable achievements has been successful rollout of the military veterans pension. This program has provided crucial safety net for those who have given so much for our country. The pension has not only offered financial stability, but it has also recognized the invaluable contributions of our veterans, ensuring they can live with dignity and respect. Through recognizing the contribution of military veterans to South Africa's democracy, the government can promote social cohesion and national unity and foster a sense of shared history and purpose. This recognition is not only a moral obligation, but a step towards rectifying historical injustices. Part of this recognition entails prioritizing military veterans and their dependents access to key benefits such as pension, housing, healthcare, and education over a medium term. This comprehensive approach supports the well-being of military veterans and contributes to a broader development of society. The department has also focused on improving efficiency and accountability. Processes have been streamlined, bureaucratic hurdles reduced, and transparency enhanced to ensure that the veterans receive benefits they deserve without undue delay. The commitment to accountability means systems are continuously reviewed and refined to better serve our veterans, making sure that every rand allocated is used effectively and responsibly. In the area of and support the veterans and their families, these initiatives have opened doors to new career paths and personal growth, allowing veterans and their dependents to build better future. The focus on holistic well-being underscores the commitment to supporting veterans in all aspects in their lives. In the area of education, new programs and partnerships will be introduced aimed at providing veterans and their dependents with cutting-edge skills and knowledge. Looking ahead to the 7th administration, the priorities will build these achievements and address new challenges.
Support for military veterans will be strengthened, ensuring that they are not only remembered, but they are actively supported in all areas of life. One of the key priorities will be to enhance military veterans' pension, ensuring it meets the evolving needs of veterans. Regular assessment will be conducted and necessary adjustment to be made to ensure that pension remains a reliable source of support. Additionally, efforts to improve the departmental efficiency and accountability will be expanded, implementing new technologies and best practices to streamline services and reduce wait times. Housing remains a critical priority, and investment in building and allocating homes for veterans will continue. The goal is to eliminate housing insecurity amongst veterans, ensuring that every veteran has a safe and stable place to live. Innovative housing solutions such as mixed-use development and community-based housing projects will be explored to provide veterans with diverse and supportive living environment. Honourable members, to achieve these goals, support the proposed budget. Honourable members, to achieve this goal, support for the proposed budget is sought, which will enable the department to maintain its commitment and invest in the future of our veterans, so that we may not contradict ourselves when we say there is a shortage of the budget, but when the department comes here putting a budget, then we say we don't support, as some of the honourable members have said so. This budget will support the expansion of the military veterans pension, the enhancement of education and health services, and the continuation of the housing initiative. In conclusion, honourable members, evaluating and enhancing regional security initiatives and collaboration remain a paramount priority of our nation. Our active participation in regional security missions, particularly in the DRC and Mozambique, underscores our unwavering commitment to maintaining stability and peace in the region. The bravery and professionalism of our troops have been pivotal in achieving significant progress in these areas. As part of our country's steadfast dedication to regional stability, our peacekeeping effort will persist in the DRC and Mozambique, addressing issues such as border safeguarding, rapid reaction capabilities, and maintenance of legacy system is critical to our mission. Protecting the sovereignty of South Africa and its territorial integrity through both internal and external operation is top priority. This includes prioritizing border safeguarding, maintaining essential infrastructure, and providing support to South African police services and other peace support operations. Under the leadership of GNU, we reaffirm our commitment to these initiatives. Our party's legacy is built on the principles of peace, security, solidarity with our regional partners. These principles guide our actions. We work safer, more stable, and prosperous for a prosperous South Africa. We will continue to prioritize the safety and security of our nation while contributing to the peace and stability of our region. I urge you, honourable members, to be firm in supporting the budget of this department, which is not just an allocation of resources, but a pledge to uphold the values of democracy and peace that our veterans have fought for. Because there are some people who are using the name of some of our veterans who have fought for this democracy, using it willy-nilly. Together, let us ensure a better future for our military veterans, for all South Africans. I thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Member. I will now call upon the Honourable Minister of Defence and Military Veterans. Thank you. You may take the podium.
Thank you very much, Chair.
Can I get order in the House, please? Thank you. Can we quieten down? Thank you very much.
No, thank you very much, Chair. And let me take this opportunity to thank members who have engaged with us. We've taken seriously the points that they have raised and noted some views that were also expressed. I won't respond to most of the points because some we've taken them as notes, but we really want to first admit and agree with most members that as a department and government, we acknowledge that the country's fiscal challenges have negatively affected the operations of the department and its resources. And we are also committing ourselves to address this impression, to address this challenge, and there should be no impression created that there is no understanding and appreciation of this challenge. Because the figures come from us, we're the ones that have chatted with you to say this is what we have, this is a shortfall, because we're the ones who work on the budget. So there's full appreciation of the challenges, and there is commitment by government to deal with it. And again, we want to, really want to acknowledge, Chair, that in the short period I've been in the department, must acknowledge that I found the department is led by capable and great leaders, and the challenges that are there also affect them negatively, and they have reported to them, but it is a department which really is led by capable and, and great leaders. The legal challenges that members have raised, again, we say the review is underway, and it is designed to do exactly what members are bemoaning about. I did indicate in my speech that on an ongoing basis, we will, Chair, through you, update the committee on the work underway, and we will report even before the end of the year with an implementation plan of how we're going to implement the review. As indicated, Chair, the review underway, it does include the military strategy and an interim force design aligned to government funding and objectives. And that's what we promised to do because it's happening. As a ministry, we have also agreed to prioritize the filling of vacant posts because we agree with members. You can't run a department as important as the Department of Defense with so many vacancies. And that commitment we've made with the, with the deputy ministers that we have to prioritize it. We also have agreed to work with law enforcement agencies to curb corruption and mismanagement where it exists, because indeed, once the department needs more resources, but those resources that have been allocated to the department must be used efficiently and for the purpose it is meant for. Yes, and agree also with members that the Defense Force is a very key department with immense responsibilities in defense of our country, in peacekeeping, in peace building, in deterring crime, in defending the nation's sovereignty, and protecting our key national interests. That we agree with members. As mentioned, Chair, it is very important that we also should agree with, with members that the department needs more funding and support. We've said it up front, and it's not anything we're running away from. We are here to present a budget, but some of the comments were really as if there's a response to the strategy document of the department, so we have to talk details of what the department is. So we're bringing here the budget, and with time, and I'm sure in the next 5 years, or even the next few years, Chair again will be able to report on details around different activities of the department, so that we all have a common understanding. We have received reports with the deputies, Chair, that the department, especially on benefits of military veterans, they have been addressed, except for transport subsidization. Again, members of the military veterans there are irregularities that are being investigated. It's not as if we're not aware that there are irregularities and we're sitting on the problems without dealing with it. So they are being investigated. On the database, it exists. And that's why one member said it was also gazetted. It needs enhancement. That's why I said we're working with the sitters to make sure that the database is being enhanced. Hence, there are members who are already getting their pensions, those who have been, whose names have been cleared, they are receiving their benefits. But there are obviously people that we suspect that want to come on the database wrongly. That's why there's a verification process which is delaying some of the activities. But the database is there. We're enhancing it with the sitter. On the issue of external missions, Chair, with due respect, you can actually even trace where we come from. But I can tell you as a country, and maybe MK from which cloth we were cut off. So we're international. International solidarity is part of who we are. It was through Quito Kinovana that we are here where we are. So that international solidarity, we can't be told, nifuna ni hambani. So I want to puma blot in puma ni hambani. I understand we're international solidarity. So young babies and Amakama, but Action South Africa must seize this card. So that is puma. That's why Sila. So I guess that, and again, so I'm not surprised that, remember where Action South Africa is Funan, see party international solidarity. I guess that there's also no denial by the department that we need more resources. Remember UDM, Uti, Silung Sama pension, we said that people are already getting pensions. So it's not as if Kumnyama and Jakoni saying again. There are members who are getting pensions. We are improving the system. We're getting more people on the database. So don't create an impression that there's nothing that is happening. It has been gazetted. What we have to strengthen is the disbursement and the administration. And also the member of the A was advising us to do what is being done. You say finalize, we're saying we're doing, we're finalizing. They say do the review, we're saying we're doing the review. So we're advised to do that which we report to say we are doing. And I accept that. Chair, in closing, I also have to appreciate Amafulu. They are Amafulu. Remember here, rise, Uti. Amafulu, remember where rise, Uti reject, God support. You are born a good high. So Kanya Sasa, so Siyabonga. I was who rejected to support. Nyabong.
Thank you, Minister. This concludes the debate and the business of this mini plenary session. The mini plenary will now rise.
What are we running a republic now?